All right, let's talk about the world of medicine. Sometimes the biggest threats come in the absolute smallest packages. Today, we're diving deep into the microscopic battle against an invisible enemy that every single pharmaceutical company has to fight day in and day out: microbial contamination.
So, when you think about what keeps our medicine safe, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Maybe a chemical mix-up? Or just simple human error? Well, those are definitely risks for sure. But the biggest threat? It's something else entirely.
Yeah, the biggest enemy out there is one you literally can't see with the naked eye. We're talking about microbial contamination. These tiny, silent saboteurs that pose a huge, constant threat to patient safety.
Okay, so before we go any further, let's get on the same page. What exactly are we up against here?
So, in simple terms, it's when these unwanted little microorganisms, things like bacteria or fungi, accidentally find their way into a drug. And this isn't just about a speck of dust getting in. No, we're talking about living organisms that can grow, multiply, and totally compromise the safety and the effectiveness of a medicine.
So what happens when these microscopic invaders actually get past the defenses? What are the real costs when something goes wrong?
The folks at ATCC really frame this problem perfectly. They call contamination a major risk because it hits the two things that matter most: the integrity of the medicine itself and, of course, the safety of the person who's depending on it.
And the fallout from a single contamination event? Oh, it's massive. It can trigger these huge product recalls, which of course brings in the regulators and some seriously heavy fines. And beyond the incredible financial hit and the permanent damage to a company's reputation, the worst-case scenario is always the same: direct physical harm to patients.
So how in the world do you find an enemy you can't even see? Well, you start with your very first line of defense: a rock-solid, absolutely unwavering foundation of quality control.
Prevention starts with being incredibly rigorous at every single step. First up, you test all the raw materials before they even get in the door. Then, you're constantly monitoring the manufacturing environment: the air, the water, every surface. After that, you're meticulously testing all the equipment, and only then, at the very end of this long chain, do you finally validate the finished product. It's a complete start-to-finish process.
And this testing isn't just generic, it's super specific. Take the microbial enumeration test, for instance. It's basically a head count, right? Making sure the number of microbes is way below the strict safety limit. Then you have something like the antimicrobial effectiveness test, which is this really clever way to check if the preservatives in the medicine are actually doing their job and stopping any new growth.
And here's the thing: none of this is optional. Companies have to follow these global standards. Think of organizations like the USP in the US, the EP in Europe, and the JP in Japan. They're like the official rule books for making safe medicine. And following those rules, it's not a suggestion, it's a strict requirement all around the world.
Okay, now let's get into the cool stuff: the modern arsenal of technology that's used to stand guard over this whole process.
So first up are online total organic carbon analyzers. Yep, I know, it's a bit of a mouthful, but the idea behind it is pretty simple. Microbes are made of organic carbon, so these incredibly sensitive machines are constantly checking the water used in manufacturing for any tiny spike in that carbon, which gives an amazingly early warning that there might be a problem brewing.
Next up, you've got automated air particle counters. The best way to think of these: they're basically like smoke detectors for a clean room. They're constantly sampling the air, counting microscopic particles. If that count suddenly goes up, it's an immediate red flag that the sterility of the room might be at risk, and you can respond instantly.
But maybe the biggest leap forward is at online microbial detection. What this means is, instead of the old way, taking a sample, sending it off to a lab, and then waiting days for the results, these new systems can give you microbial data in almost real time, right there on the manufacturing floor. It's a total game changer for speed and safety.
And this chart really shows the huge shift in strategy. Back in the day, with manual sampling and slow lab tests, you'd only find out about a problem long after it had happened. You were always just reacting. But now, with automated real-time sensors and instant alerts, you can finally be proactive. You can spot a potential issue and stop it dead in its tracks before it ever becomes a full-blown contamination event.
So, after all the tests, all the regulations, all this incredible technology, what's the one thing this entire complex system is designed to protect? What's the real end goal here?
It's really worth asking that big question. Why go through all this trouble for something you can't even see? Why does any of this truly matter?
It's because at the end of every single manufacturing line, there's a patient, a person who is relying on that medicine to be safe and to work exactly like it's supposed to. This whole massive framework of quality control is built around one simple, unwavering principle. Patient safety is absolute, and it is completely non-negotiable.